Welcome to Jolene's Books and Writers Talk, where stories begin long before the first page, and writing is more than words on a screen. I'm your host, Jolene McFadden, and each week I sit down with authors and publishing professionals to talk about craft, creativity, and the real life behind the books. These episodes are sponsored by Southern Dragon Publishing. Please take a few seconds and hit the like button, share this and other episodes, subscribe to our channel, and even leave a nice comment below. Let's begin.
Hi, Jolene. I'm very happy to join you. As an introduction, I am Vida Gecas, and I am a recently retired U.S. diplomat and a federal law enforcement officer from the Diplomatic Security Service in the State Department. I originally got the idea for my children's book while I was nearing my retirement, and it's a tribute to all Foreign Service officers and their families who serve in the U.S. Department of State. It's also a tribute to my parents, Joseph and Eugenia, who were World War II refugees from Lithuania. And they instilled very important values to myself and my siblings. Most importantly, friends, family, faith, and service. Service to your country. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and again, I served as a federal law enforcement officer. And I wanted to continue my service in a different way. So I decided to write this children's book in order to help children. My book is called Lucky Puppy Finds Two Families. And it's basically a true story about my rescue dog, Lucky, who found me when I was posted as a U.S. diplomat to the U.S. Embassy in Conakry, Guinea, which is in West Africa. And Lucky is a little street puppy, and he has a dream of finding a family, but he has no idea how to get that. So through his adventures and through his openness and friendliness, he eventually learns that he finds me, but also that through perseverance and being open to explore, his dream is met. He actually gets a family, but it's bigger than what he even ever could imagine. So for parents, the book has three main themes. It's the importance of dreams. For children and for everybody, we all have dreams. Exploration. Through my work and the service to my country, I've learned that being open and being able to explore new ideas, new countries, new issues, that through that, you'll be able to find solutions. And also through that, your dreams can come true. And then finally, the theme of families. The title is Lucky Puppy Finds Two Families. And we all have families throughout our lives. Sometimes our first family, we're born or we're adopted into one, and hopefully a good family. But through our lives, we learn and we meet all these second families through our work, through our school, through our church, through our activities, through sports. We all lean on those second families throughout our entire lives. So that's also a point that it's brought out in the book, and you can discuss it with your children after.
Very nice. And congratulations on your first book published. And were you traditionally published, or did you self-publish, or hybrid?
It's through a hybrid publisher. Yes.
How did you find that?
The process, I'm a pretty good writer, but really learning the techniques, especially for children's books. I've always loved writing. Yeah. But children's books, it's all about cutting down the words and cutting down your theme. So in that part, because you have to really start out with an idea. When I first went over my idea, that's 4 books. So I really needed to cut it down. And really, in children's books, every word and sentence matters. So you really have to cut down on your theme to keep it shorter for children. My book is geared for 3rd and 4th graders. So basically between probably 7 and 9 years old to read on their own.
Did you have an illustrator, or did your publisher help you with that?
No, I did find a wonderful illustrator, Lisa Alderson, and working with that individual to help visualize what you are thinking, how you visualize your book, and having that illustrator also take your vision, but also use their creativity to bring the book to life.
For other children's or potential children's writers out here, I've been asking about how do you handle the illustrations as far as copyright? Do you name the illustrator and
Yes.
share copyright, or is it a work for hire or a combination of both?
So I did, the illustrator is on the book and it's a work for hire. So basically, I own the drawings. I don't have to worry about copyright because it's a work for hire. She's hired to do that specific job. And then the pictures are mine.
When I did the last copyright with the copyright.gov office, they asked me a bunch of questions because I did my own cover. So I had to tell them if I did a work for hire, if I did it myself, did I get it from stock images, that sort of thing. And they're all worried about AI, of course. So they had to put that information on the copyright itself about how it came to be. I used Canva and a combination of my pictures and stock. So they had to put that little caveat right there. The interior is totally mine, but I can't claim copyright because it's
Right.
whatever. Anyway, those are the joys of being a new author. You have to learn all these little secrets.
Learning, it's a whole different field. I think in the beginning, when you have an idea, oh, I just want to write a book or a children's book, in my case specifically, when you actually get your book, it's so much more, so many things open up that you have never an idea, like starting your own business, doing all these things that you don't really think about in the beginning of part of being an author. So just get ready, strap in and be ready to learn more.
Yeah, a lot of writers don't really realize is when they're selling in Florida, you have to have a sales tax certificate and you have to file your quarterly taxes. Because if you sell a physical copy of your book, that's considered a good. Your ebooks you don't have to worry about because those are digital goods. We don't tax them here. Most authors incorporate the price in their thing, so it's easier for everybody. But yeah, that was another thing you have to learn. You have to do that sales tax thing.
You have to register at the Florida Revenue Service. Yeah. It takes so much to learn along the way. Several other authors, actually, small business development in your town was very helpful to me. And it's a free service for me. They used one of the community colleges here, but they provided so much information to me. And our businesses were so small, it's not a storefront or anything, but they were so helpful, especially about the taxes, but so many other questions I had. So I would recommend for people to seek out their small business development center in their town.
Yes, them and the retired SCORE, SCORE, the retired businessmen's.
I don't know about that one. I'm going to look that up after.
They're starting to help smaller businesses. They're mostly for physical location kind of businesses, but because of the digital age and freelancers and everybody's going online, as the business persons retire, they're volunteers and they create online seminars and they have 3 or 4 a week. I can either do the ones out of Gainesville or out of Jacksonville because of the way I'm located, but Gainesville's quicker. So that's another one, SCORE.org. It's an organization, nonprofit.
I'm going to go look at that up. Always learning.
Yes, especially once you get going and you got like 10 books, you're going to have to get yourself organized.
I know. My book only came out in late May. So again, I'm really new and exploring everything on the book markets, marketing.
It's harrowing, I know. Okay, so which social media are you on?
For my author, I'm on Instagram at Vida Gecas Author.
Okay.
And I also have a website.
Oh, excellent.
Spelled LAIME books.com.
Okay.
And it's a little bit of a tribute to my parents. Laime means luck in Lithuanian.
Do you have a YouTube channel or TikTok or?
I didn't yet. And that's one thing I have to do better about. Again, in my field, we don't talk much about all of our specifics about where we're located, what we're doing. So social media, even though I've been on it, it's still, for the personal side, on the business side, it's still very new to me. So I'm learning about all these things and getting up the courage to do interviews like this. I've done a couple, but it's a challenge. I have some plans to initiate more of these great endeavors into social media.
Yes, because you could go live and say, here I am live, and here's all the authors, and here's my table. You get that recording, and you can take clips from it in the future and post extra stuff on Insta and whatnot on your website.
Okay, I'd be very interested. You're already an inspiration to me.
Bring a little clipboard and have people sign their name and print out their email and say, please join my newsletter list. Even if you don't have one yet, you can build towards doing one later.
Okay.
And are you a member of any of your local writers groups? And if so, which ones?
I do belong to SCBWI, the Society of Children's Books Writers and Illustrators. We have a little local authors group here. It doesn't really have an official name here in our area in Central Florida. And they've been extremely helpful. It's with all book genres, but it's so helpful to learn from. I'm the newest one probably on the little from our group, but I've learned so much in talking to all the other authors. It's so helpful to find other people. And through my hybrid publisher, I've met some of the other authors who were in my group. So we communicate.
Very good. This is a lonely pursuit and you need all the help you can get.
Yeah.
All righty. And what is your next adventure?
I'd like to continue Lucky's adventures because he traveled the world with me, and I would like to continue his adventures. And I do have an idea for his next series of his book where he continues his journey. So I am looking forward to continuing his story. Again, he was such a special dog. I think the book will really resonate with children who are in the Foreign Service or military because they move around a lot. But again, the story resonates for children who also wish to explore and see the world outside of their little world. So if children and families want to explore in that larger atmosphere, it will also appeal to them. So I would like to continue Lucky's adventures.
Just out of curiosity, when you first found your Lucky there, what kind of hoops did you have to go through to make him part of your family?
So he actually found me, and this is in West Africa. It's a developing country, and I bring him, I accept him. So I take him to the vet for the first time, and I do go back and pick him up. And from there, it was fairly easy. But again, anybody who knows for traveling with a dog or any pet, a cat, any pet, when you're traveling overseas, it can be difficult. Lucky traveled the world with me, but each country has different specifics for traveling with the pet. And you have to pertain, and you have to make sure you go through your veterinarian and get all kinds of health records for that animal's transportation to your next country. Sometimes they have to be quarantined. You have to look at the laws. But again, they're part of your family. I think people in the Foreign Service who travel, if they're part of your family, you have to do research for each country that you're leaving and where you're going, and make sure you have all the paperwork so that there's no problems with the transport of your pet. So again, you have to plan that long before you leave. So keeping him in Africa was easy. Transporting him, my next assignment was back to the United States. We're trying to get all the paperwork, and I will say animals usually learn very quickly how the transportation process goes. Lucky picked up on it very quickly. I started to do things in a certain way each time we were getting ready to do a big move that he knew. He said, oh. she's got that crate out. I see these things. I'm going to be moving again. So in his mind, he gets ready because each country is different. Yeah, it can be done.
What two sources should somebody seek? I know the military takes care of its own, but like the ambassador corps or somebody within the government, and you want to take your dog or your cat with you, who helps you with that?
Actually, the State Department, we have a Foreign Service Institute for diplomats. It does help you learn about the laws of the country that you're going to.
Yes, if you get a chance to bond and then they mourn when you're not there.
Yes,
Some are more dramatic about it than others.
for military and for foreign service families, there are times when you will have to leave your family. Transition happens within a family as with a pet. So they go through all of the same. I want to address a little bit more of that in an upcoming book as well, because it is something that people go through.
Yeah, that was my next question. So think about it, because there's more and more Americans leaving and going to other places for work, for school, to retire, semi-retire, whatever. And
Right.
they all usually have pets. Do they have to give them away?
You don't, I always encourage people to take a pet, but they are part of your family. So most people will go through that extra effort to make sure they're transported according to the laws. So again, the country that you're going to has certain laws and you have to know what they are when you bring in your pet. So you just have to research it and be prepared for it.
I imagine the rules are a little bit different for health companion dogs, guide dogs, alert dogs.
Sometimes some countries may not even recognize that, but it depends on where you're going to. So again, you have to do
You have to
research,
know.
and sometimes you have to supply paperwork, veterinary licenses, all kinds of things to make sure before you transport your pet. You have to go through a lot of effort, make sure all your documents are very perfect, understand what's going to happen on the other side to your pet. Most countries are, especially in Europe, they're very familiar because they also love pets. If you're going to other places in the world, they may not be so familiar. So again, just do your research and make sure you have copies of everything. So most of the time you're going to be separated on the aircraft, or sometimes some countries you have to ship the pet by cargo on a different plane. So again, every country is different. So you just have to be prepared.
All righty. Pets are like kids. They're resilient. They'll
Yes.
figure it out.
No, they do. And they're happy to see you at the end.
Do you differentiate between writer and author? And if so, how?
But that's an interesting question. When my book became published, I just, I guess I put on my social media that I'm an author now. I never thought about differentiating between a writer and an author. I can see the difference though.
What do you like to read when you're not writing? For fun, strictly for fun.
Because of my law enforcement career, I love to read mystery books. I love to read historical fiction, books that take a little bit of the past and weave in other parts. So I think those are my favorites.
Cool. Any particular writers that you find?
Yeah, there are other authors in my own field from the State Department that I always try to support their books. For historical fiction, there is a Lithuanian writer, Vida Gecas. She's written several books and taking real stories from the past and again interweaving it for people to learn more, about past events, but interweaving a storyline. So I enjoy her books, but others as well.
Oh, nice. Have you ever thought about going into mystery thrillers, romance, one of the other genres?
Oh, it's interesting. As a federal law enforcement mystery, as like crime solving, perhaps, because maybe Lucky can solve a little mystery along the way. I'm thinking future, he'll still be like following up, but maybe he'll do a little like solving something along the way.
If you did decide to do an adult full novel, would you
Oh,
do it under a pen name to distinguish yourself between children's writer and adult writer?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't think so. I haven't yet thought about doing that, but I think it could be interesting. I don't know. I have to think
Yeah.
about that.
A lot of authors do. It's a lot of more work, but sometimes it's easier to separate your children from your it,
It's very logical. So, yes, I can see that.
and then other authors say, no, man, I got all my books under my name. I don't care.
Mhm.
I'm eclectic that way. Do you have an author that you really admire and would like to emulate through your writing career?
Throughout my life, I think you have favorite books through different periods of your life.
Yes.
Definitely when I was younger, and I think why I even picked a little bit more adventurism, I loved Louisa May Alcott and the Little House books because they were always traveling and doing things. I loved those books. I probably read them over. I had the whole series. Oh, I think also as you got older, I love Jane Austen, of course. I think every woman does, but I really enjoy her novels. I enjoy explorations, though. In those novels, she has a talent of taking you back to that era and that time and the places. So I enjoyed that. I also mentioned Vida Gecas for current. I enjoy her books. She does really good historical fiction, again, taking you back to a time in history and some difficult periods, but again, weaving in a story, but taking you back and teaching you a little bit more through historical periods.
Do you have any advice for new writers, children's writers? What top two things would you advise them to do and two things not to do that you've learned so far?
Oh gosh. First of all, I would say if you're thinking about it and you're dreaming about it or if it's a goal, just do it. Don't wait. Just go ahead and do it. I wanted to make sure, because again, I had this idea. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, but I didn't want to wait 10 years to just sit there. If it's in your heart, write it and do it and make it a goal of yours. There are different ways to accomplish it, but just get that goal out there. Whatever happens in the next step, it's okay, but do it because it's calling to you in your heart. Join writers groups, practice writing. There are some really good local writers groups, and there's a lot of things online too. But also be cognizant. There's so many things online that they also just want to take your money. So
Yeah.
make sure that you do some research and ask other people. Find other authors to whatever genre you're in. DM other people, direct message them, see if they answer you back. Some people don't, but just get out there and ask questions. But if it's in your heart, do it. I would say things to be careful about when you're published, there's tons of people coming after you, promising you, I can market you this, but you have to pay this exorbitant amount of money. Do what's affordable to you, but be very careful where you go. There are different ways to do things. I also encourage new authors to apply for book awards and things. Pick the ones that you would like. There's reputable ones out there, but the awards, I've applied for several. And it's interesting because you learn through that experience as well, and different authors who you can connect with through those award sites. But it also helps you learn more about your book, getting reviews, and it's a very helpful process.
As an author, do you have any objections about AI? Do you use it at all?
I haven't used it. I think AI can be helpful, but it is something new that we have to watch. I think technology today, to me, it's a little bit scary. Children, very young children, are already they're on their tablets and their phones, and they're not interested in carrying. Some children don't even carry a real book. I think there's an advantage for it's so important for children specifically to learn to read. and not to have things dictated and to look at real themes. AI can do some of that, but I think as it moves forward, I think we have to be careful in how it moves forward too quickly. For children, I think it's so important to make sure that they read. And even if you have a younger child, but I encourage parents to also read books that are a little bit above them. If they don't have the attention span yet, but read bits of it because they're learning vocabulary and how things are set up as they get more into reading. It'll set up more of a love for reading. To me, books can transport you and using your imagination. I always still prefer reading. I have used the dictated books when you're driving, which I think are wonderful. With AI, I think it's something that could be helpful. It may take away from authors too in the future. Not now, but in the future, I think it's something to watch.
They're not there yet. I like to use it for ideas and outlines. I tell it a bunch of stuff and say, can you organize this for me? And it helps me get my thoughts in order, which I use it as a tool. Have you ever been in any of the Asian countries, Korea, China, Vietnam, that sort of thing?
Yes, I have.
Compare their educational system and their reading habits to Americans. Are they more or less or just different?
I worked during the summer, I did a summer reading program, even with American Foreign Service and military children who live overseas. And then I started to work with children here in the United States. I can, I will say, children who live overseas in a different environment, they have a bigger vision of the world. They picked out things even from my book that children in the United States did not. Perhaps it's because when you're overseas, children are in an environment where they have a bigger exposure. But I did see a difference. I would say the children, these are American children going to American international schools, but they, on the whole, were probably reading at a higher than children here that I've seen in the United States. I think that has to do with, again, I think overseas there is a little bit more of an emphasis on reading and the importance of reading. I see it, and I think it's so important for children to really read, not so much play on an iPad or to have it read to them, but really to read because it does form their thoughts, words, ideas, and how they organize items. And even at the third and fourth grade, there was a difference working with those two groups of American children.
I know. Our educational system needs a major overhaul. And we are very xenophobic as far as traveling. I've talked to Australians and New Zealand, Asian people, and they all encourage their children to get out, go meet other people from other countries, find other societies, incorporate what you learn with your own in the future. And we don't do that here. It's very rare that we'd even have a passport.
Right.
You know,
again, when I worked with our organization for children that were living overseas, they were a bit more advanced than the children I've seen here in school at the same grade level. Encourage your children to read with them when they're younger. Children's books take 15, 20 minutes, it's not hours of your time. You can read through with your child and get them interested. And as they get older, they'll start reading on their own, making it a little habit before they go to bed to read a book. If they have siblings, to have them read a book to younger siblings.
I did that with all four of my children. It was more like, turn that light out and go quit reading, go to bed now. But they're all readers, so that's what I like. Last question, which three people throughout history would you like to spend an evening having a meal and talking, and why? Doesn't matter if they're alive or dead throughout time. So who would you like to invite and spend time with for in the evening?
I think one would be Benjamin Franklin. He was the first diplomat, but also a founder of our country. because I served as a diplomat. His role in diplomacy as our first diplomat officially. He would be very interesting, and he was such a smart man. He foresaw all kinds of items and inventions. His bifocal, again, that ability to explore really interests me. I think another person would be Joan of Arc, really inspires me. Through her time in history, as a female during her time, women were not in that role at all. And she led an army just in what she accomplished, but also her perseverance. It would be very intriguing. For me, it would be my grandparents. They are originally from Lithuania. I remember them, but they lived through a very tough time during both World War I and World War II. I know my
Right.
parents' story very well, but to learn more about them, their perseverance, their hardships, but also I know their love of the family because it carried over to me today. I would like to, because selfishly, I didn't really know them well. So I think to bring them back as I'm an adult now.
I know you have all these questions you can ask them now. I'd love to be able to talk to all my relatives too.
Yes.
Even my a very crazy great great grandmother who was born in Germany, and her
Yeah.
family moved over, and there's 12 of them in the family and stuff. But yeah, she was a character, and I would like to talk to her.
No,
All
because
righty.
you hear about them, and there are so many things that you don't know. My grandmother also, she was the youngest of 12, and just it's so interesting to ask them questions.
Yeah, what about the other 11? You were the baby. You got to see everything.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Jolene's Books and Writers Talk. You'll find links to my guests, their books, and additional resources in the show notes. If this conversation inspired you, follow or subscribe wherever you listen. And join me again next week for another journey into the world of writing.